Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. Happy Saturday to you. Hope you're having a fantastic weekend. You're sleeping in or hanging out, eating good, having fun. Almost said getting sexed. Certainly so, sacredly so. I sure hope that you are. But that just popped into my head, so no offense or no pressure if you're not. Just the most well wishes if you are. Oh boy, well, I'm sure by way of the actual forecast, it wasn't a surprise, but to me, we had a bit of a surprise snowstorm where I am, because I just that wasn't on my radar at all for there to wake up to it being like a complete winter wonderland. But as has been the form for the past couple of snowstorms, just as quickly as it blew in is almost as quickly as it's almost melted away. It's not quite as fast of a turnaround as last time. Last time we got some snow, the rain came right in, and it was like literally here 1 minute, gone the next. This time is lingering a little bit, but certainly not in the ways that would matter, like on the street and on the sidewalk, just a little bit on the grass and a little bit on the trees. But the way it looked when I first woke up, I thought it was here to stay. It was so beautiful. The trees were like just dripping with snow. It was so pretty. But now, not so much. So yeah, but anyway, again, I hope you're having a wonderful Saturday. It didn't stop the ease of my Saturday morning, not one bit. I made some pancakes for, myself and my son, and we just chilled out. We didn't have anywhere we needed to go, so it was no interference for my lifestyle at all today. And it was pretty to look at. So anyway, enough about me. Let's see what we got here. 2 of Cups. Okay. This is new contracts or balanced contracts, fair contracts, commitments, could be platonic exchanges, or it could be intimate exchanges. It really just depends, but in its highest frequency, it's definitely speaking to partnership that is on the same page, where both feel pleased in what they are offering and also what's being reciprocated. It could, even if we're talking about love vibes, then definitely 2 people that have mutual feelings for one another. They're on the same page, on one accord. The feelings are mutual, more or less. Wherever they are, there's a synergy there. There's so much of a range with the 2 of Cups, so let's definitely see what it's hitting for today. Let's see what we got today. All right. Oh, Tower almost popped in and out. Interesting. Tower. Maybe something wanted to disturb or disrupt the potential for said partnership, but here's the Hermit card. Let's see, what's the Hermit card about? Yeah, assisting in that, assisting in moving things forward. So maybe there was some impending danger or potential destruction to a pending contract or potential contract or commitment. And a lot of times the Hermit card can be like ancestral interference. So maybe the ancestor stepped in and said, no, you don't, or averted, you know, the path to detour around the destruction. That's what I'm sensing, for the purposes of protecting this potential partnership, guarding the integrity of the partnership. And it was almost like a secret passageway of sorts here. That's what I'm feeling with the Hermit. The Hermit can be a little bit withdrawn from society particularly, but also very internal, like a concealed passageway, guiding the compass from the internal, guiding the pilgrimage is what I'm hearing, like guiding the pilgrimage from an internal compass. Ooh. And I've been getting a lot with the Hermit card, the spirit of ascended mastery. So maybe that, this could be to bring connection to also with self, which also represents the Hermit card, self-discovery and self-awareness, really going into to find your inner light and understanding and acceptance of yourself, really to kind of consider all of the details of yourself, and particularly in this regard, I would say your spiritual self. But given what I'm saying, it could be to navigate two souls to one central coordinate. Or to bring one to a place where destiny awaits, whether that be to a person, an opportunity. With this Two of Cups, it could be to your soul tribe, to the location or environment where your spirit will thrive or does thrive, to the perfect opportunity to align with what will advance, who, what, or where will advance your ascension, your personal growth. This is like journey to the promised land type of vibes with the Six of Swords. Let's see what else we got. And it was a dangerous one with that Tower popping in and popping out. That says to me it was nothing short of tumultuous at times, perhaps, but even having the potential to be self-destructive. That's what I hear. So that was the point of the internal navigation, to help keep beings on a certain pathway from destroying themselves by leading through that internal compass, always redirecting at times when you could have, your path could have been averted by natural towers and occurrences, events that would shake up your foundation, always being led back internally to find that true path, to recommit to that true path that would ultimately lead you to the place of peace with the Six of Swords. Ooh, I love this. Oh, goodness, I'm sorry. I'm losing control here. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. was almost a star card, but it was way too much going on. I'm fumbling here, as you can see, like, whew. Wow, this is the acceleration. That maybe that's why I'm nervous, because it's like things are speeding up and heating up with this Eight of Wands card. That's funny. I just got this vision. In New Jersey, there's this man, it's like I was almost said archaic, but definitely classic would be would be a kinder term. Amusement park called Clementon Park, right? And the ride is closed now, but what I was just looking at this reminded me of, it's still there. So like when you go to the park, you can still see it, and it's very nostalgic. Like I almost feel kind of weird even talking about it right now for some reason. But it's this ride called the only water ride they have there was the waterlog ride, where ultimately you got into these boats that look like logs. They were probably more logs than they were boats, because it was so open, and then what was cut out is you sit inside. And I mean, it was almost quite scary, actually, because there wasn't much security. I never heard of anybody getting hurt on it at all, but there wasn't much security. But you went on this log ride, and it goes around, and eventually it starts to go up, and it goes up, and it goes up pretty damn high for there to be nothing, no bar over your legs, none of that. Just you get in, you hold on. And maybe eventually they did incorporate bars, but my fondest memory is no bars at all. And you go all the way up, and then the big climax of the ride is by the time you get, and it also is taking you over other water around, which is around the park as well. So it's not like you just in the water contraption of the ride. You're also over a huge body of water, which is maybe that's why I'm getting nervous. Just think about it. But you loved it. It was the highlight. Everybody wanted to go on that ride. That and the rickety wooden roller coaster, which I think is still in operation. Maybe not, but it's definitely still there. So you would go up, and then when you got to the height of the ride, it was like the big climax of you now coming down and the big splash, and you would get wet, boy. When I say, like, not only would you get wet inside the log, you would also get, there was a bridge that overlooked the descent, and if you stood there, you could also get splashed. So I think there's a ride in Disney World, maybe it's called Splash Mountain, that's something like it, that I remember being on as well. But it was just something novel about that experience. But anyway, that's what I was getting here that made me laugh a little bit. And with the Eight of Swords, it's like the acceleration of what you coming down, and there being almost nothing real. Like you could almost lift up out of your damn seat in the log if you weren't careful. It was just, you're so vulnerable, but yet the thrill is so great. It's kind of a mix of fright and fun. Like, maybe that's the point that I'm getting to here. It's like where things are speeding up in such a way that it's exhilarating, but it also comes with a little bit of fright, but not in a bad sense, but just knowing like, oh my gosh, like I'm at this great height. there's nothing really holding me back, and you can't go back. Once you're on the log, you got to keep going all the way up to the top and all the way back down, and you know what you're coming into is the big splash at the end, but you don't know how, in what part of the log you are, like how wet you're going to get, or if you're going to be nervous. And there's just so much worked into this experience, but there's a reason why I'm saying that. Maybe it's on account of this impending connection. I did say something about sex and maybe some anticipation of a climax of sorts, even if it's not, of course, sexual or sensual, but this climax of an opportunity, of an engagement, of a connection, of maybe even moving with the Six of Swords. There could be a change in location or advancing in some way, shape, or form, moving into a new experience of the journey that hasn't been, that you haven't had before, that's altogether new. It's like, hold on to your butts. Because with this Eight of Wands, the climax is approaching. And instead of it being like a decline, going down through the ride, it feels like it's not so much about a descent, it's more the ascension that is going to be exhilarating. This is more representative of the acceleration and the intensity of the ascension, or even the forward movement, if we're not even talking about upward, if we're just talking about onward, whatever it is, it's a thrill. It's thrills and spills going on right now. So, like I said, hold on to your butts. Because in this card represents moving from more tumultuous times and waters to peaceful, calmer waters. And that part is true as to what many have to look forward to in their so-called promised land or promised life of experience. But the thrill is in the fact that there's so much more that you'll be able to do, like an increase in your passion and zeal for life, on account that you're not fighting the same resistance. So it almost feels like the acceleration of when you're going down on that log or down on the roller coaster, because it's like you have nowhere else to go in that regard. But in this case, like once you're moving out of those turbulent waters, that more or less the mental resistances that kind of hold you back from forward movement and momentum, it's not going, there's what life is going to pick up is what I'm trying to get to, very uneloquently or ineloquently. But it's not a downward spiral at all. It's just a speed ahead. You're going to have so much passion, so much enthusiasm, excitement, so much more to do. Like there's going to be an increase in productivity once some of the emotional, maybe even spiritual resistances are released from your journey, on your journey. And maybe on account of even just what you believe they are with the swords, like it's in water, but the swords are the prominent feature here, which is all about your thoughts and your mental stability and agility. Is probably more of what you tell yourself is a resistance or hindrance or a blockage or worry or fret. As I said, obviously they had the science figured out as to how to keep people safe, and not be a liability of life on this ride. But mentally, your mind is thinking like, I'm in this log, there's really nothing holding me down, I'm all these several feet up, The boat is swaying back and forth. You know, I'm over a big body of water, and now there's nowhere else to go but down. You know, like all of that mentally to process is intense, you know, but clearly with the Hermit card here, which is always that guidance that I was talking about, that works from the internal space, sure, could possibly be hovering somewhere in some intangible space too that, you know, is unseen. But for the most part, it's the knowing from within, the calming from within, the certainty internally that lets you know, like, I'm okay. This is fun. We're all having fun here. Nobody worry. We're doing all right. Yeah, the schedule is there's more on my schedule than ever before. There are more contracts to keep track of. There are more collaborations to you know, to what's the right word, to, you know what I'm saying, like more collaborations to account for. You know, there are more things to do, more people to see, more places to go, more responsibilities perhaps, even as you increase in that way. Like I know this because I know it has a connection to even what I was thinking and praying about before I pressed record, and it was just like the expansion of my visions and really me being increased even in the moments of really trying to make sense of what gets to be done first. Hermit card, Virgo energy here. Like, okay, I'll do this first and that first and this and that. Like, well, I mean, next more than I should say first. Like, okay, this and that and this and that. And then as I'm thinking about that, then that idea expands to this. And it's like, well, oh God, like, I need to complete this first before how am I going to move into that? And how does this get to roll up into this? And how, you know, how does it all make sense? You know, and maybe you can relate that the greater your vision becomes, the greater your vision becomes. You know, it's like never ending, it's endless, and it's exhilarating. It is to me. Like, I'm grateful for it. It's definitely favorable to be entrusted with so much creativity, you know, like that. I'm never at a loss for creativity and things that get to be done, not just for my own advancement, but for a collective contribution to, you know, creation, honestly. But sometimes it can feel frightening, you know, like as to how you will ever have the time to do it all. You will ever have the resources, the support, the you know, that you even have all that it takes to do what is plausible, what is possible in this moment, let alone what is being added unto you at every given second, you know, where nothing ever stays small. I don't know if you share that sentiment, but one idea never stays one idea for me. It always gets magnified to something even bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's like, okay, I love it now. How in the world do I, you know, wrap my hands around the totality of that thing? And I guess it's just a matter of just staying focused on what's in front of you at the time, you know, knowing that this is like spiritual support as well. And one thing that I'm probably being reconditioned about is my limitation on what gets to be done by my own hands and my own might and my own, you know, my own physicality, my own physical force, and what is going to be supernaturally advanced. You know, and even in the physical sense, how the spirit will send support by way of connections and collaborations and even opportunities to co-create, to enhance that vision, that creation, in ways that you would have never been able to do yourself. So the scope is never really truly that limited, I guess is what I'm trying to get to. But let's move on. because I just took you down memory lane on a log ride and all that. The point is that things are happening fast and it's going to be a thrill. I'm not going to take this, but oh, there's that, yeah, like this is what was averted along the way. Energies that were looking to cause destruction and confusion to your direct path, which is why it could never quite be direct. You know, it always seemed to be a detour or a segue or the scenic route, or, you know, like never in the straight route that you intended it to be, or even in the timing that you may have planned for, because there were certain energetic forces more or less at play, you know, to cause disruption and destruction. And in some ways, foundations were rocked and were shaken. And there were moments, perhaps, if you're anything like me, where you had to like start all over again, you know, really to build from the ground up all over again, sometimes with nothing but a hope and a dream. But you did so, you know, and sometimes not even understanding either why that got to be, or even what you were truly building toward in the first place, or why, you know, why you were put in the position to have to kind of start over, or to start something altogether new. Well, there were energies at play that were intentionally interfering, but even with their best work and their worst intentions, it still was working in favor of you being in alignment. You know, taking the scenic route was building character, you know, and for me, if I can speak personally again, the scenic routes that I've had to take were divinely purposeful, because at moments when I thought, oh, this is it, this is the one, you know, like this gots to be the thing that I'm supposed to devote myself to, just as I, you know, get into that, maybe things don't go as planned or whatever the case may be. Here comes the detour, the blockage, the whatever it is, the distraction. In that delayed time is when the one vision became 10, and then the 10 became 50, and then the 50 became 1,000. You know, like at every single turn where I've had opportunities to grow and mature in my ambitions, it's only increased the value of it, if that makes sense. So nothing's been lost ever, because a little tiny little, you know, not tiny, like not to demean my simple visions, but it's astounding to me where my creativity started and now where it is. And as I said, literally in the moment of prayer before this very message, it's like, hold up, don't give me no more. Don't give me no more. Can we just deal with this, please? Like, I almost have to do that with my spirit, because it'll never stop. It never stops. It's always getting bigger. Here we go. That's the energy. Wanted to make itself known. That was the King of, well, he in there now, but that was the King of Wands. It popped in, popped out. Yeah. To really, like, this was the biggest opposition, which coincidentally, although there were energies working as a projection of this force, it really was more internal than it was external anyway. Me getting over my own fears, my own addictions, my own obsessions, my own lower vibrational frequencies and dense energies, like guilt and shame and regret or any of that. And not to say that I was really stock full of any of it consciously, but some subconsciously, oh yeah, there was a lot to be released in my subconscious of those energies that I just showed you, the kill, steal, destroy, seven of swords, that keep you on a loop, keep you on a cycle, keep you away, or at least they thought, from your destiny, to delay it as long as possible. Yeah, well, they helped amplify those forces that were lingering in a subconscious sense. But ultimately, when you're devoted to your supreme self, which is what the hermit kind of helps you to navigate to stay on the course to do and to be, that's what helps to extinguish or eliminate a lot of those darker energies, whether they be externally projected, which is only really a latch on from what's going on internally anyway, you know? And yes, certainly I can attest to a lot of what's going on internally. Like I said, it's subconscious, so you don't even really know that you have that current running through your being, of being insecure, of feeling unworthy, of feeling not feeling like you're enough, feeling mediocre, feeling afraid to express yourself, feeling worried about how people will understand you or relate to you or accept you, or feeling like what you do is not all that special. Like all of those currents, we're not even going to talk about where that comes from, because like I said, a lot of it you don't even realize you're operating from that force until either it's too late or, for some people, or until you have committed yourself to the journey of supreme in such a way that you have no other course but to navigate those subconscious waters if you want to go anywhere. Like this boat doesn't move ahead just by you paddling in the physical form. It moves forward by you releasing these densities in the subconscious, in the psyche, and committing yourself to being greater than what you have submitted yourself to be, or not submitted yourself to be, like committing yourself to be greater than what you have contained yourself to be. There it is. Because the devil, in the simplest form, represents limitations. Those that we put on ourselves, those that we don't even realize were there from, previous life experiences or previous seasonal experiences, our surroundings, our circumstances, our upbringing, our relationships, all of that, and also the ones that are inflicted upon us from external forces. All of that, you get to navigate through just to get to that climax of that, that pinnacle moment in that waterlog, that pinnacle thrill of life. And in some cases, to look at the pinnacle thrill, yeah. Here's the navigation here, the cultivation, I should say, really, with the Seven of Pentacles, what you committed to over and over again, the persistence, the consistency, to really see like what are you harvesting, taking stock in your harvest, what to kind of figure out like, okay, so if this is what I'm yielding, then what seed is being sown, like kind of moving backwards through that spiritual navigation to see like what is the root of my being, and am I rooted by it? Is it keeping me from ascending? Is it keeping me from expanding? That's no easy task. But the harvest time here is this total wish fulfillment with the 10 of Cups, where the work pays off. The persistence, the sowing, the diligence, the releasing, the watering, the tilling, like the back-breaking labor at times, definitely sometimes soul soul breaking, so it feels, or maybe spirit breaking labor is what yields this experience here. Feeling completely fulfilled and whole and loved, and over exuberance of love and spiritual groundedness. That's the look. The Eight of Wands is like, that's the climax here. A legacy of love. That's many contracts, many commitments, not just the 2. Now we've increased by 5 to the 10. Well, not by 5, but actually by 8, but times 5 is what I what I was thinking. What's the 8 though? 8 of Cups. Oh, heaven had walked away. Yup. Walked away from what wasn't satisfying and gratifying, what wasn't serving, what might have been downright toxic in some regards, limiting, to believe that there was a transition possible from dissatisfaction to sensational. Oh, and here was the midway transit. That's crazy. Here was the midway point with the 9 of Cups, the 8 to the 9, and here's the 10. Wow. Amidst all this density though, like still believing that, nah, this can't be it. Like this can't be life. There's gotta be more. And I'm gonna go get it. I'm gonna go find it. Whatever it ain't, I'm leaving behind. What, you know, that 8 of Cups, like you don't have any sure evidence that you can absolutely do better than the 8, than what you've been more or less accustomed to, comfortable with, you know, settling for. But you know enough for yourself to know that you're worthy of more than just barely enough, or settling for something that isn't enough. And then you find it with the 9 of Cups. 4 of Cups. Regressing. 9. That's the 5. I would say this would be rejecting those dense energies as the 5 of Cups, like knowing that you wouldn't accept anything less than. That's the energy that I'm pulling from this message, you know, from us starting in a very particular place to now. It could also be someone that thought they had it all in the bag, and, you know, they thought that their investments were going to lead to a certain destined outcome, and ultimately they've regressed back to a point of missed opportunity and rejection for sure. But I'm going to take this as more or less the energy of you denying, refusing to submit to the densities of limitation. And so therefore you're not limited by it. That's part of this like internal navigation here, that internal compass, because these are the things that one had to overcome to transcend, to even get into the boat, let alone to navigate through those waters. And consider it's a lot of cup energy here, from the 10, the 9, and now the 4. Everybody is not having that same successful journey, same pilgrimage, as the word I used earlier, because some people, here held on to too much of the material world, too much, all of that I spoke about being enough, whether people will get you, having enough, doing enough, being accepted, all of that is what was held on in the Four of Pentacles. And so it sometimes, well, it absolutely does. If you're in this energy, it will influence your actions, your activity, your impulses to sow according to this spirit of lack or poverty, or just a general fear of not having enough. Even if you have enough now, the fear of not having enough eventually. And here's the Judgment card, like the breakthrough, the wake-up call from that vibration, which we all are susceptible to as human beings in some way, shape, or form. Just being citizens of this realm, we're susceptible to being fixated on our own mortality and survival, let alone on the outward expressions of our so-called success. And sometimes we will sacrifice the opportunity to have spiritual satisfaction for material satisfaction easily. It's not even a crime. It's almost natural in the ways that we've been conditioned, which is why it's taken a special spirit of devotion to the divine and commitment, submission to your supreme self to move in a different direction. And there were detours and roadblocks and accidents all along the way, diversions all along the path, some even set by yours truly, yourself. But as long as you were willing to stay committed to that internal light, I'm sure you found yourself there, whatever there is for you. And now here's the culmination with Judgment here, that really is like the deciding force of what's being yielded from the commitment to the journey. Let's see what's the last card. It's like a horn blown. And in this regard, it's Gabriel's horn, right? Which usually is the culmination of a thing. In this regard, it's probably more the culmination of a season of a certain spirit. Now being released into some new expression of life where it looks more like this, the Ten of Cups, and less like disappointment, even with your best efforts. Or dissatisfaction, I should say, even with your best efforts. Yes, but I heard it like more like a horn almost blowing behind you, like, go. It's like when you're not paying attention and you're sitting at the light and it's already turned green, it's like sometimes the drivers will give you a little bit of assistance. Hopefully not aggravated assistance. But yeah, it's like an alert, not an alarm, an alert that now it's time to continue on, to move forward. Ooh, Magician card. And you got the magic stick to do it. Now in the way that you're moving forward, it's completely uninhibited. You heard that alarm? With the power, the resources, the support, the green light, all of that to pretty much make life however you you feel guided to do so. I mean, it seems really primitive for me to say it like that when these messages come up, but I feel like that's what we need to be continuously reminded of, because we've been living a certain type of way for so long where it hasn't been so unlimited, at least not by our own evidence and observation, and even by our own experience. The limitations have been quite real, quite literal for a lot of us, to now be transitioning into this position of mastery, of manifestation. That is the thrill, as a matter of fact. Getting back to my little story here, it's like the climax of creation. Like, what? You telling me that there's nothing boxing me in, there's nothing holding me down, I'm all the way up here, and I can pretty much make any splash in life that I want to? That's scary and exciting at the same time, because the conditioning that we've had up until this point is to be distrustful, not just of others, but of ourselves and our own power, to almost be afraid of it. It's like we try it out and test it out a little here and there. Those of us that are truly most trustworthy with it are the ones that have done the least with it at the same time, so we haven't really even allowed ourselves to wave a magic wand in our most powerful expression, for fear of hurting ourselves or others, or overstepping our bounds, really, is what it comes down to. And here with the Judgment card, it's almost like, no, you're being called to operate in that unlimited expression. It's your calling, it's your invitation, your divine duty to some degree, to operate in that frequency of limitlessness. And as I said, being in that log, not having anything to strap you down, sometimes the limitations of the so-called devil or just opposition can almost be a little bit comforting if we're honest, because it at least gives you some parameters, some boundaries as to where you can't go. Like, well, I did that before, so that's shut down. Or I know I don't have the education for this, or I don't have the experience for that, or I should only be expecting a certain type of man or woman or relationship, or what I mean? Like it gives us a box, a little safekeeping box, or a box for safekeeping, I should say, so that we don't get too ahead of ourselves, in a strange way. That's why I said we create that limitation a lot of times, because it feels safe in there, to know exactly what we should be comfortable with, or what we've always been comfortable with, and to find some security with that alone. Now to blow the lid off the box, and hell, to blow the box up altogether, it's like, whoa, now what do I do? What can I do? What can I do? There's no limitation on any of that. And now I'm just responsible for me. I just got to hold on to this bar as we riding around in this rocking boat, all these thousands, now it's thousands. It was hundreds, right? Several feet up in the sky. That's the ascension aspect of it all, in the spiritual form, like all this transcendence, this traction that we've made in our transcendent supreme self. And you telling me that there's nothing to fear at this altitude, not even myself? There's no one that's going to stop me when I get to the climax to say, no, you go back down. There's no one that's going to snatch the thrill away from me. There's so many things that we've kind of conditioned ourselves to just live with, even the disappointments themselves. Like, oh yeah, I know once I get to a certain point, that other shoe's going to drop, or I'm only going to get but so far here or there before I'll probably have to start over or backtrack, or, it's like you almost don't even expect to have a certain fulfillment in life. You almost don't want to expect to have it for fear of being disappointed ultimately. But now, with this Magician card and the Judgment card, it's like a different type of thrill, a different type of fun and fright at the same time, because you have the sovereignty of yourself to be accountable for. You are responsible now for what you create, who you be, what you do, and what you have, for sure, but certainly not limited by anything or anyone. So enjoy that thrill. And look, here back to it though, this is an accelerated thrill, because just as you get to the knowledge of what you're being called into, what you're privy to, is just when the ride speeds up that much more. The journey increases, accelerates, expands. So strap in, honey. Here's a Page of Cups, and here's the Lovers. This is the accelerated expression of the Two of Cups. Could even be, okay. So usually I see the Page of Cups as questionable. Today I'm seeing it as offspring. This is the offspring of these divine partnerships. Like, remember I said acceleration. So we've gone from the Two of Cups, which is like, it could be a casual connection to some degree, something that maybe is getting a fresh start, Page of Cups, right? Here, after all that we've gone through, this little pyramid of sorts, prepare yourself for the acceleration of such as the Lovers, which is something that it could be something that starts off that seems simple, that now is like, it's like feels like the destiny fulfilled in your life. Something that in itself can be thrilling and frightening, right? Because when it's just casual, like, just going out for coffee or tea, or let's just talk about what you're working on and what I'm working on. I'm trying to give a range here. I'm into what you into. Let's hang out sometime type of vibes. It could go to that simple, where there's not much pressure on it. It doesn't feel like, there's much of an expectation of it, or from you, or of you, I should say, to suddenly you realize, like, oh my God, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. This is the love of a lifetime. These friends are my soul family, and it's a different type of pressure, and I'm using pressure intentionally, but not because that's what it should be absorbed to be, but that's just naturally what sometimes it can amount itself to be when you realize that you're dealing with sacred energy here. It's not just throwaway, like, oh yeah, whatever. Like, we're talking about sacred opportunities, sacred love, sacred partnerships, sacred creativity, once in a lifetime occurrences and acquaintances. And yes, they are to be revered and reverenced as such, but certainly still with the spirit of thrill in the forefront, if that makes any sense. Releasing yourself of the limitation of fear and anxiety and insecurity and all that other stuff that can sometimes come along when we think stuff is like this is real in the mind, right? That's what we're all getting to, in the mind. Just like that ride, it's like, am I safe here? Is this okay? Like, then you might even be thinking, can I swim if I get thrown out of this damn boat? Like, all the things that you go through mentally that could keep you boxed in, you can release all that, because if it's showing up in a way such as the Lovers with a certain frequency about it, then that means, as it is on the board, you've already been ordained and proclaimed as such energy as the Magician, to be able to navigate and create, manifest anything of that frequency. And all you have to worry about is yourself, like how you show up in it. You don't even have to worry about what how the other person is looking, or, the only thing that needs to be regarded is that it's in alignment with where you are and what your expectations are. But you certainly don't have to account for any other magic than what you're bringing to the table. And from the looks of this spread, you got everything that's needed, wanted, and desired at your fingertips. So I think you should get ready for a hell of a ride. This message might not be for everybody holistically, but it's definitely for somebody. It's definitely for somebody. As I said, Magic Mountain, didn't I say? Like, I think that's a ride that's kind of like this. Like, that might even be the title. Like, you about to be at the top of Magic Mountain somewhere. Just hold on and enjoy the ride. Oh man, okay, I'm gonna leave it there. Happy Saturday to you again. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And yeah, until next time, as always, I leave you with peace.